Do you ever feel stuck, like you're living your life on autopilot? Are you ready to shift into high gear and reach the success you so richly deserve? Welcome to the Play Big Movement podcast. I am your host, Sharon Lecter, entrepreneur, business strategist, and best-selling author. Playing big is not about settling for good enough or being comfortable. It is about reaching your highest potential and achieving your greatest success. Join me in my Play Big movement as I interview top experts in business, money, and entrepreneurship, all ready to serve you and to help you play big, be number one in your field, live your legacy, and create maximum impact. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this segment of the Play Big Movement podcast for the private Facebook group. You've all come together committed to playing a bigger game, being number one in your field, living your legacy, and creating maximum impact. And I'm excited to share this second rendition of the podcast with Maris and Ken. And if you've not listened to the main podcast, please do, because it's extra long because I was having fun with them and we covered a lot of stuff about relationships. And I think it's really important. You know, we sometimes get so routine in a relationship with someone that we forget to keep listening and being there with them. At least that's my opinion. And it's really important to, reignite. I surprise Mike with little presents or, a treat here and there just to re-engage the relationship, the love, and the fun. Let's not forget the fun. Fun's kind of an important element that a lot of us were so A-type driven that we forget to have fun. So Ken and Maris, thanks for hanging in there with me.
We're thrilled to be here with you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So happy to be here with you and to talk about relationships and personal relationships.
And love this community. I mean, what you're really building in this community is amazing, Sharon. And I think it's so valuable. And so we're thrilled to be a part of it. So thank you.
We're excited to have you here. And, you talk about we talked about the R Factor, the book that you wrote, and the 4 levels of universal rhythms. And I think it's really important if you want to just run through those again. But then I want to talk a little bit more seriously about, the road less traveled, the bumps in the road. So.
Well, the first of the 4 rhythms is respect. Any relationship, when you start any relationship, respect is really crucial. If you can't respect the other person or the other thing, if you don't have respect, and it even goes to even the planet, if you don't have respect, you're not in relationship with someone.
And the respect really starts with yourself, right? So we all grow up very often learning how to respect other people first. Well, guess what? It's an inside out job, because how we're feeling inside's how we're showing up everywhere. I know we can all relate to that, right? So so respect is about being present, right? And listening, and responsibility.
Responsibility. We, in every relationship, particularly in our romantic relationships, we each have a responsibility. So you can't do the other person's responsibility, nor can they do your responsibility. We both parties get to stand in that realization that I am responsible.
So that's being intentional, right? It's being accountable for our actions, right? It's being committed and communicating clearly. One of the biggest issues is communication.
What'd you say?
Yeah. Did you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we say that whether or not it's with teams or it's with family, it's the same thing. It's one life, right? And then reframing is really about leading with gratitude. So the third R in this rhythm, it's leading with gratitude, being grateful for what we have, accepting we all have traumas and dramas in our lives, right? Knowing that that's what we've got, facing it without letting it really limit us, and meeting people where they are. Because very often if we reframe in a couple, in a business, we're open to seeing the other perspective and being in relationship with. And then resilience.
And resilience. Resilience is every relationship goes through resilience. It's much like, and what is the pattern? What's the rhythm? Well, it's up and down. But you hope that your resilience makes the up and down continue to go higher. Higher highs, higher lows. I was a stockbroker for many years, so this is you mentioned it before, and I thought, oh yeah, that's right. Higher highs, higher lows. So that's resilience. We all get to hang in there and be responsible, have respect, reframe, and always be resilient and stand in there.
Well, we were talking actually before we started our recording about Maris and Ken just came back from a gorilla trek, and I was sharing my experience about 10 years ago on mine. And it was almost comical talking. Now, when you look back, it's comical. At the time, you're really pulling into that resilience and strength, inner strength to make it to the where you need to be. But that's an event, that's having resilience to accomplish a particular mission. But life's journey is about setbacks and recovering from them and moving forward. So we like to remember the peaks, we don't really like to remember the valleys. But share a little bit about a time when you guys had to really tie into that resilience.
Go ahead.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah, no, you go first. I don't have anything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, so interesting. I'm going to give one that actually I haven't necessarily, Ken and I have not shared about, recently, but a number of years ago, Ken and I really ran up against a wall and we're having financial issues. And it was scarier than anything, right? Because here we are standing, we're two adults, we're responsible. We just had a really great, huge program we had just completed. Business was great. And then 2008 happened. And we hadn't prepared for 2008 and for the bottom dropping out. I don't know, some of you have been impacted by that, some of you hadn't. And so in all of that, all of a sudden we became this couple that was, yes, this amazing dynamic duo business-wise and personally. And we had just gotten married and we'd been together already many years. And we just, finally tied the knot formally. And it was the whole, okay, how are we going to operate in this space? The notion of me lone wolfing and taking in my emotions and not communicating how I was feeling, because I had all this baggage from my past around money. My parents always complained about not having enough, and then we would go out and buy things. It was this whole, the story, because this is what you coach and teach. And in that space, Ken and I really had to come together as a couple, to say, okay, we're not blaming each other, because my big thing was I was so hard on myself, on each other. We're not blaming each other. What does it take to get to next? We can sit in this space and be tied to the emotions of our past and let that control us, or we can unplug from that emotion and say, I own this moment. We get to be in relationship with each other because we love each other and we want to move this forward together. So what did we do in our communication and our jobs? What did we end up doing?
Well, we ended up doing everything we could. We ended up looking at other opportunities. We were producing events, and really during the recession, nobody wanted to spend money on producing events when everybody was, looking for work and money was tight. And so the event side of it just went away. And so I said, okay, what can I do? So I reached out and I said, better to do something than to do nothing.
Take action.
Take action. Just take a step forward. So I took a step forward and I took a job at the airlines, took a job as a desk counter agent for an airline. Wow. It was amazing. And we got not much money, but we got to fly anywhere we wanted to all the time. So we felt that was a good connection. And it came in so important when Maris's mom was ill and she was in California and she could fly back and fly back and fly back. So it's in those moments when you don't know what to do, it's just important to take a step. And I think that's what we learned. And that saved us. That we were never questioning our relationship, but we were questioning how we move together in the world. And sometimes you have to do things you don't really want to do. And that's resilience.
And I started commuting a job to LA. So we were now living in two different cities. But what was most important in all that was that we respected and knew what was here, what was between us. And the communication, albeit difficult, was most important to be able to then align our expectations with each other and to reframe. So there's the respect, there's the responsibility, and to reframe our whole headspace around, it's not about us not being good at what we do, but there are relationships that we've built our business on and our life on. How do we take that to another level? And as difficult as it was, it built such strength in us. And that was now, almost 15 years ago, probably.
Yeah, you talk about reframing. I have a program that's called Refire, and it's very similar. And it talks about recalibrating. I don't like the word pivot, because pivot means you're changing your end goal. You might have the same end goal, what you want, but sometimes you have to change your tactics and your tactics, and you have to recalibrate and then refire and find a different pattern. So
Yeah,
I think that's really, really important. So
And
Ken,
for sure.
let's hear
Go ahead.
about you, a redirection for you.
Well, I mean, I think this is. I'm going to say this story was really prior to Maris and I being together, but I went through a time in my life when I went through a divorce, and I felt I was at the end of my rope. I felt that nothing was working, everything was bad, and I was on a long drive from California back to Colorado. And there was a moment when I just felt like, you know what? I'm just going to turn the car and go over the abyss, over the big cliff. And it was fleeting, but I stopped myself and I thought, no, but if I do that, what about the other people coming in the other direction? And I said, that's not an option. So I pulled off into a little pull-out, just rested, took a little nap, breathing, a little breathing. And I chose to live. I said, I choose life. It's tough. I don't feel good about what I'm doing, but I get to choose life. There's more here. I'm not done. And that moment was a real click for me in moving forward and finding a relationship like Maris, where we both could exhilarate each other and could take care of each other and be secure, but also learning something new about each other every day. This is something that we are thankful for this. Maris will tell me a story. I'll say, I never knew that. Wow. Today, after 20 years, I get to learn something new about you. That's red letter day for me.
Yeah, I love that. Staying curious and creative is very important in any relationship. So I also like to end this segment of the podcast talking about daily success habits. And you actually talked a little bit about your gratitude practice in your journal. So share that again with us, and any other daily success habits.
Yes, I think for us, that daily success, and Maris, jump in here too, but we have this practice called 4Gs. And the 4Gs are gratitude, grounding, generosity, and good morning, good night, whatever it is. And that's a practice we do every day. We wake up, we have some sort of a grounding, a meditation, a prayer, a song, a dance, whatever you want to do to ground yourself. For us, it's meditation. And then you talk about what you're grateful for. And starting the day with some level of gratitude is really the best way to launch into anything. And we feel, when we're happy to share this gratitude practice with you, you can go to our website, segalleadershipglobal.com, segalleadershipglobal.com, and you can click a little button there and we'll happily send you the gratitude practice.
I think the other successes, and one of the things we love about gratitude is, we have choices every day, all the time. Our choices determine our future. And all day long, we are in relationship with or to someone or something, as I said earlier, and we have an opportunity to choose every day. So part of our practices are, all day long, we're constantly saying to ourselves, is this a choice that will impact a life that I could be proud of, mine or someone else's? Is this a choice that will impact a life that I could be proud of, mine or someone else's? Whether or not we're doing that with our teams, whether or not we're doing that in the corporate setting or the family setting, these are practices that everybody can use. And the other one is really, really committing every day to clear communication. Because when we communicate clearly, and we absolutely are clear about intention and expectations, because expectations without agreement create premeditated resentment, then those are also—
I love that term. I forgot about that. I love that term, premeditated resentment. I love it.
Yeah. And it's true, because it's all the time. There is not one person we've ever coached, talked to, met with in all of our relational work in 40 years in 40 countries that has not had issues with communications and expectation. It's crazy. Yeah. And I literally just got off the phone with one of our Olympian client team, And we were literally having the same conversation about expectations, and they were hemming and hawing. And I finally said, guys, could we just step back a minute and let's talk about what your expectations are of each other and of yourselves in this situation? And it changed everything. So those are really the things that guide us. These 4 relationship rhythms are the way we live, choosing our rhythms, our choices, and really navigating through all this, the clarity.
And being clear about expectations, because I don't know what Maris is thinking. She doesn't know what I'm thinking. So the only way we can communicate clearly and enhance our relationship is be clear about expectations. Here's what I'm expecting. Here's what I think should happen. What about you? Here's what I think should happen.
Yeah, I think we could do a whole podcast series.
Yeah,
exactly.
Expectations. I think that's one of the biggest issues parents have with their kids.
Yeah.
You know, for me, still you have the expectations, and what happened?
It's still recording.
It's still recording.
Oh, okay, good. My screen is like gone.
Oh,
wow.
We still see you.
We see you.
Well, I'm glad you're still there. I wonder what. So we're going to have to figure out how to cut this out. Anyway, so
we're still seeing you on screen. Oh, now you're frozen.
What in the world happened? Okay, hold on. There you are.
Oh,
yeah.
Hi.
Weird. My screen went to sleep.
Oh,
it's never happened before.
Wow.
So, Ange, you're going to have to figure out how to cut this. But okay, we're going to go back to, and I think with expectation, we could do a whole series of on expectations for parents, because a lot of relationships between parents and kids are because parents have these expectations and they don't see their kids as real people who have their own gifts, their own ideas, or their own desires. So.
And they're not communicating, right? If there's an expectation issue, absolutely, there's a communication issue.
Yeah,
absolutely. The two go hand in hand. And yeah, I think about it a lot when I think about my parents, and I think, wow, I never saw my parents sitting down and discussing anything. It was either a yelling or a telling.
Yeah, yelling or yep, I love it.
Yeah,
that's so true. Well. Thank you guys so much. I love this. And I think for those of you that are in this, listening to this and watching it, make sure you go back to the main podcast, because, Ken and Maris, they have such, not just their own personal experience, but they talk to people all over the world in all different categories of life. So their research into the elements of relationship is stunning, and it will support you every step of the way. So Ken, thank you. Maris, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharon.
We love you. We so appreciate you, and we're honored to be a part of your circle.
Well,
proximity.
I can't wait to see you in a few weeks, and all of you watching and listening. You are fabulous. You know that. But make sure you take time to think about your own life and your own relationships and how you can take that to the higher level, and that idea of being generous and really being really present and listening. And I think reviewing expectations is really important. And if you want to play a bigger game, it's really kind of important to be as clear as you can in your communications along the way, so that you can exponentially increase your impact. Because if you're number one in your field, living your legacy, creating maximum impact, then you are playing a bigger game. And you deserve that. And we deserve to hear from you. So take care. Have a fantastic day. Thanks for listening to this segment of the Play Big Movement podcast. Thank you for listening to this segment of the Play Big Movement podcast. Please subscribe to iTunes and leave us a review, as well as join us in other areas of social media: Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Sharon Lechter, and for Facebook, author Sharon Lechter. Thank you so much and have a fabulous day.